We heard you clap all the way from here, so we decided to join you. I'd like to ask the actors to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Effie.
I'm Noreen Farley.
And Sarah.
I'm Kelly McAndrews.
Ben.
Hey, my name is Thomas Borsteg. Thank you so much for watching.
Grace.
Hi, I'm Deb McLean.
Father Theo.
Hi, I'm Matt McCarthy.
Vincent.
Hello, I'm Scott Cagney.
And I want to thank the actors one more time. And let me introduce our discussants, the Reverend Jason Haddix of St. Michael's Episcopal Church in Norman, Oklahoma.
Good evening.
Mark Palmieri.
Yes, hello.
So just so that our Hollywood Square grid gets a little less crowded, the actors are going to take out their video for now, and we'll take it down to just the three. But they will be listening unless they're tuning into the Sondheim special. But I'm hoping that they're going to listen. I met Mark Palmieri about 5 years ago. I had just read a play of his called The Groundling. And I read the play, loving every minute of it, couldn't stop laughing. I got to the last 3 pages and I threw it across the room because it took such a sad turn. I felt that I'd never be able to produce it. But it was too good to resist, and I produced it anyway. And we had a wonderful time working on it at the Theater Project, and Mark was very gracious and came out to come and see it. And but I do notice, Mark, that your comedies frequently do take a twist at the end. They frequently take us somewhere we don't expect to go. So can we use that as a jumping off point for tonight?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. You know, in that case, it certainly was something I'd been interested in since a play that I was in multiple times as an actor, Love's Labour's Lost. Shakespeare did it, and I was interested in how that sort of examined the shape of a life, right? You know, where at some point we are concerned about certain things, have a scope that maybe isn't so aware of life's tragedies, and sometimes they come storming in to remind us about our mortality, you know, and so I was interested in playing with that, you know, playing with mixing genres and how the two, you know, and how comedy and tragedy are so close and reflect stages of life, you know, in that case. But here too, I think all throughout, of course, and this story, and which is one of both celebration and of course the mournful death and painful death of Jesus, where, you know, in this story and in the major holidays, of course, there's a reflection of both of those, you know, even Christmas, where we have a baby born who has a destiny that is, of course, painful, and yet a purpose, you know, in that tradition of great joy. So these contradictions make a lot of sense to me, and as we were reading this, for the real thing, up the street at All Saints Church in Bayside, that was not lost on us, you know, certainly this year, you know, here we were laughing and having a good time just seeing each other and doing a play. So it was joyful. But of course the story is hard. And these days, I think everything in probably every mythology and religion has a special resonance to everyone, you know, as we are staring in the face of such a hard and confusing, scary situation.
And we certainly had the same experience rehearsing the play, that we the first read through, we were just so happy to be together after having been isolated and not having seen each other for a while. And it was not till the second time that some of the sadness crept into the rehearsal from the current situation. So Jason, do you want to say anything about the Lenten relationship here and its echoes?
Wow. First of all, bravo, Mark, both Marks. Bravo to the cast. This was a wonderful juxtaposition of something that has such a long tradition in the Western Christian Church with where we are right now. I think it's a very interesting way of putting those together, especially at this time. I forget who has the line. Oh, well, I think it's Effie has the line about we've given up so much for Lent this year. I was giving up cheese, and now we've given up civilization. And Noreen, of course, as usual, nails the comedy, but also brings out the pathos of, what are we doing? And how are we going to do the next thing that needs to be done in the face of all of this? And that came out in the script. I mean, you've got the disciples in the story of the Passion of Jesus squabbling and fighting and getting up in each other's faces and getting distracted. And here we are again. And it's real easy to get pulled off to the sidetrack when you don't know where you're going or what the next thing is going to be. So I think, Mark P., you've touched on something for us at this time that is really profound. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for what you do and for your great notes on one of the early readings. Mark forwarded me your response to him sending it to you, and you had all of your notes were applied. So I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Thank
You're
you
the perfect person to review it. Yeah.
for letting me in the conversation.
Well, you make a great dramaturg.
Thanks.
So I don't know if the audience knows that they can ask questions, but you can. There is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Do any of the actors have any comments or questions? They're all watching Sondheim.
No, I'm here, but I have no comments or questions.
I'm still here too. No
Yeah.
questions.
No questions.
I have a question, or I have a comment. I just thought what really struck me and what I thought was brilliant about it was that it was written to be done on the Zoom platform. And it made it it was a very different experience than just trying to act in a play where you're not acknowledging, I mean, you what's the word I want? You embraced the fact that we all stuck with this Zoom thing. And I thought that worked really well.
Thank you. And great job. Everyone was wonderful and really funny. And so thank you. It was a real experiment and continues to be, and I'm sure it was very interesting in that way to you all, because it's a strange room we're all in together. Where theater is about being in the same room. And we are, even with the audience, live. And so many of the spontaneous and unpredictable things that we love about theater are there to happen. And at the same time, nobody's together. And yet we are interacting and from our different rectangles here. And the performance really brought that out. What I thought was amazing watching is that, as I would be watching a stage piece, and what's different than a film is that I could choose where to look as an audience member. I'm watching everyone stay in character, not necessarily told where to focus, my view. And I'm noticing dynamics, across the screen between actors, between pairs of actors, and that reflects what watching an ensemble piece on a stage is, right? I choose where to bring my eyes and what to listen to, and that's very theatrical. But really, where this came from was just a hunch, because I was doing one of these, and as we've all now gone through the process of, even if it's just talking to our families, which I did an hour before this show. The first X amount of minutes, or even more than that, is about just getting settled and making sure everyone's in focus, or the mic's working, or they have the passcode, or whatever it is. And so as we were moving into this performance, it was just delightful. It was a big relief. We're seeing each other for the first time in a while, and as that's going, and then the rehearsal part, it felt like theater. It really did, and yet none of us are together. But I thought to myself, well, if an audience was watching this right now, I think they'd enjoy it. So I thought about writing a play that was this, but a real play, with actors on stage under their own special lights. And well, then I said, well, to myself, why don't I just make it so that people can actually see what we're doing on Zoom from wherever they are, because we're all in the same strange no space. And so in that way, there is that togetherness, despite there being a great distance between us all right now. So I just thought it was a rich and contradictory and unique and paradoxical dimension to set a play. I feel like, I don't know what's next. Maybe outer space would be the next place to place a play and do it. But it felt exciting to be on a new stage that we haven't done, storytelling on with a live audience, and when so many aspects of what makes theater most powerful. So yeah, it's been very rewarding to see that there's a value to it.
So Mark, we're beginning to get some questions. When did you start writing this, and who was the most challenging character to write?
Well, it's still April, so I wrote it on April 2nd, right after I rehearsed that reading of the Passion with a local church. And it took me just about 2 hours because I was just out of a very similar experience and had that hunch that if I don't finish it now, maybe I won't get back to it tomorrow. But I have this feeling this is going to be good, so I'm going to just stick it out. And it just took shape and came to about that 40-minute, range. And then when I was rehearsing a few times with Penn State Center, who premiered the play with Rick Lombardo, there were some feedback and some revisions then. Nothing dramatic, but little changes, and the Reverend had some wonderful notes as well. And I got to apply those in a very fast development process before we went up on April 16. And so that was the whole process of writing it, developing it, rehearsing it, and the first performance. And this is the second performance. Yeah, that moved quickly. Challenging character. They were really fun. They were really fun to write. I thought that was important, that I loved them all very much and enjoyed their being together. And the frustration in trying to collaborate on this very hard thing together. And of course, these aren't all savvy computer people, so it was bound to get crazy. So they all came pretty easily. They're all people that I feel that I understand and have worked with before and I've loved. But the choice of Sarah was probably the most different character than what I had just done in the Passion reading. So she was the one that was like completely invented, which was nice. She gave me a lot to work with, a lot to get out of that I may have not have been able to get out of the other characters.
Here's a question that you might both want to take a crack at. A couple of questions here is, why not carry the story through to the resurrection? And I have a response to that, but maybe it's none of my business. So I'm going to let Mark Palmieri and Reverend Haddix tackle that one.
Well, for me, that line has always made me think about the human being element of Jesus Christ. I thought when I got to that moment that I was thinking very much about the human being in Theodore, who's attempting to and successfully keeping his parish going and providing a great deal of order and hope and comfort and consolation to his parishioners. And I hope that the audience could get that and wonderful performance tonight. And I felt like this was, if not a test of his faith, a moment where he saw the profundity in that utterance and the fact that it has made the Gospels, that those writers felt that that was a very important moment to record, that he said that he could be troubled in that moment, you know, on the cross. And I think it's a wonderful human moment. And it happened to be, you know, it's set on the last night of Passover. And I felt that in a way to celebrate the genius and beauty of that story. And of course, how it happens to be a plague that we are dealing with now, that it was a way to bring those two important days together in a story, and celebrate both of those stories about how so much of what we are experiencing is out of our control. And I think in both of those high holidays, we understand that, and it made sense to the rector there that he decided this year, let's leave it there. It's the most prayerful moment, you know, and I think that he realized that's where we are. We are there right now, you know. So that's what it was for me.
Reverend Haddix?
The only thing I can add to that, and Mark, you have just given me my Palm Sunday sermon for next year. The temptation and the desire to fast forward and get to the happy ending is so much a part of our human condition, and especially now. We want to know how this is all going to turn out. We want to know when the day will be that we can open up, go back to business as usual, etc. And we don't get that now. We have to be where we are for a while. And part of the wisdom of the passion stories in the Gospels is that they don't skip over that. If we take the whole narrative seriously, then we have to stop and be there in it for a while. So I think I was struck by the fact that the play ends with a bidding, "Happy Passover." Well, what is Passover? It is the passing over of the angel of death. So yes, there's rejoicing and there's also grief. So you've held us to that in the narrative, both of the ending the gospel story and also ending the story of these 6 characters on this particular night, on this particular platform. We have to stay where we're at for a while.
Right.
And so, Mark, we're also getting a lot of questions about can the play be bought or purchased? And I know it's being published by Drama Display Service. So I'll just put that out there for those who have inquired. And we will be posting the video at some point if we can ever figure out the technology. I'm sure someone knows how to do it. I don't.
And it says recording on my screen, which is good news.
Okay. Then I guess it's being recorded, and people who know better than I will be able to make that happen. So I'll just read one comment here from an anonymous attendee. I found this very timely, having Zoom coffee hour with a congregation after online services at our church. All the same interactions, fumbling with technology, struggling with isolation, offering prayer requests, sharing emotions, all of it. Very well done. Needed the levity, and the turn at the end was sobering. Also good insight as to why many ministers are what many ministers are experiencing at this difficult time. So I just want
Amen.
to share that with everyone. I want to thank Mark Palmieri and Jason Haddix for being with us tonight, all of the
Thank you.
actors for creating this event, the New Jersey Theater Alliance for their sponsorship, and all of you for tuning in. And we take that as a sign that there, in spite of the saturation of Netflix and at a difficult time, people still like to gather together in real time and be together to act out stories and to tell stories and to share reactions. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the Silent Angel who is running the technology of this tonight. And stay safe, everybody.
Yeah.
See you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Mark.
you.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Thank you, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Wash hands.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Off your hands.
Bye-bye.
Good night.